Welcome to the Damascus Encounter, a program where we share and talk about conversion experiences that people have as they encountered Jesus. In the Bible, Saul met with Jesus on the road to Damascus, and that was the turning point. And for today on the program, I have a special guest in the house who will be sharing with us her Damascus experience, her encounter with Jesus, and how the turnaround came. With me in the studio today, I have Professor Clara Okoro. Professor Clara, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, tell us a little bit, do you mind sharing your Christian upbringing and background?
Thank you once again. I grew up in a Christian background, precisely of the Catholic faith.
Okay.
My parents were Catholics, so we are brought up in the Catholic way and under very strict supervision of the Catholic doctrine. My mother was a teacher, and of course we had infant baptism, which is the way the Catholics baptize. I didn't know when that happened. But at age 7, which the Catholics refer to as the age of reason, I had my first Holy Communion.
Okay.
After the first Holy Communion, at age 10, 11, I think 12, I now had confirmation, because there is the baptism first, then the first Holy Communion, then the confirmation.
Okay.
And at that, you're referred to as a soldier for Christ, after confirmation.
Okay. So, and all of these in growing up, that experience, your Christian experience, was it a fun thing for you? Growing up, this young Catholic Christian, after your baptism, after your communion, and then the confirmation?
Yeah, actually it was fun because there was nothing else to compare with. And as young Catholics that had been baptized, had your communion and confirmed, we were drafted into what they call block rosary. We assemble every evening to recite the 15 decades of the rosary. And we are taught the catechism, not to do this, not to do this, not to steal, pick up things that are not yours, and not to gossip, such morals.
Okay.
They taught us at that age, and we imbibed them.
So, and this definitely must have impacted your school days as a young lady or girl growing up, going to school.
Yes, it did, because my mother was a teacher, and Catholics don't believe in co-educational institutions. So my primary school was specifically for girls, St. Louis Girls Primary School in Kano, northern Nigeria. Then my secondary school was in St. Catherine's Girls Secondary School, only girls. So both primary and secondary were single-sex schools. Okay,
so is that to say that if one had this Catholic education or growing up background, ideally, the ideal of the church is males go to a separate school, females also go. So there are no institutions where you have both males and females together?
Well, after the primary and secondary, the tertiary you cannot control, because there are no single-sex universities or things like that. So, but the belief of my mother then was that by the time you go through primary single-sex, secondary single-sex, you would have imbibed some morals that even if you go into a co-educational institution, you will not go by way of the world. The morals will still be there. Okay, so ideally, all of this is to prepare a young, growing up child in the way of God, and so that he or she does not depart from it. Is that right? Exactly. That was the objective. So you were Catholic, you were raised a Catholic, and you went through school, then you went to the university. You want to share a little bit what you studied at the university? I had my university education at the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. That was in northern Nigeria. immediately after my A-levels.
Okay.
After the A-levels, I got admission. We didn't do prelim. We went straight. And it was a 3-year program. And Ahmadu Bello University is a Muslim institution that also preach morals. So while in the university, girls and boys don't mix freely in ABU. So what I was taught in primary and secondary, I now met it in ABU, even though it was not a single-sex university. Okay. So it helped me so much to adapt. I adapted very fast.
Okay. Now, so after all of this, do you want to share a little bit with us your first contact with Seventh-day Adventism? Because now you are Seventh-day Adventist. So how did that come about?
It's a very long story. Even if we have a day, I'll not be able to. But when I finished from ABU, I was called up to do the National Youth Service Corps in Benue State. Okay. So it was, in fact, it was when I was in my final year in ABU, a young man came to Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria to do his housemanship. He studied medicine at Ibadan. Okay. And, you know, Igbos were not very much in ABU. So I don't know how he got to know that I'm in ABU. But incidentally, we are from the same town in the east. His parents were in Jos. I was in ABU. So when he learned that I was in ABU, he came looking for me. And we met. He said, do I know I'm your brother? I said, I didn't know. What's your name? By the time he mentioned his name, I knew their house in the village, very near our own country home. And that was how we met.
And so he, I suppose, was Seventh-day Adventist. How did the issue of Adventism come in?
Now, when we met, he was at the ABU Teaching Hospital for his housemanship while I was in the main university. In fact, I was in my final year. So after about a few months, he started talking about marriage. I said, no, I'm in my final year, about to write my exams. I will not want any distraction. This thing you are talking about marriage, just keep it on hold. Let me finish. He accepted. So by the time I finished and I was called up to do the NYSC, he came again. And I looked at him. I liked him. He was quiet and everything. But the religion was a problem because I knew that my parents will never have that. Their daughter, their first daughter, going to marry. In fact, we call them people that go to church on Saturdays. In our place, it was a stigma. So I told him that I wouldn't agree because my mother will kill me.
And then, so I'm just after having, yes, he made the proposal, he asked you, and then this family thing was there, it was something you had to consider. So how eventually, because eventually you married him, am I right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so how did you then resolve that boundary, the family thing that meant so much to you, your mom's perception of him?
Actually, when he made his proposal known, he gave me some, of course, I read library and information science. He gave me literature to read, all the Ellen G. White books and everything, messages to young people, Adventist home, patriarchs and prophets and the rest of them. And as I was reading, I knew that what I was reading was the fact. But I didn't own a Bible. You can imagine somebody doing NYSC. I didn't own a Bible because in the Catholic, we don't consider it necessary. Rather, we go to church with the Sunday Missal. In the Sunday Missal, all the 52 sermons for the year are written there. And it's only the Reverend Father that. So we just go to church with Missal, listen to the Reverend Father and his interpretation. I didn't own a Bible. My first Bible he gave me. And when he made it, I didn't know how to read it. Because what we used in school was Revised Standard Version. Because I did CRK. That Revised Standard Version was just to do the CRK exams in O levels. So he gave me the first Bible and honestly and shamefully taught me how to read the Bible.
Okay. That's interesting. And reading the Bible definitely started, your eyes started opening. Yes. Am I right?
Yes,
and
you know, because as a graduate, of course, I read the Bible and I read the Ellen White books. it started making an impression in my mind. I was worried. My mind was agitated. And I said, could it be that for the past 22 years, I was in the wrong place? You know, I confronted my mother. She got angry and warned me that that was why she didn't want me to marry these people that go to church on Saturdays. But,
so you had mentioned, you'd spoken to her about him already?
Yes, and my junior sisters, they love me so much. I begged them, so they helped me to work on my mom. Okay. My dad was well at home with my church because he loves me. I'm the first daughter. Oh. But my mom could have none of those. But my sisters and my father helped me to work on her. Because I said, Mom, I have seen the truth. That fourth commandment, in the Catholic, it was divided into 2, just to make it 10. I told her she didn't like it, but I'll say that I married my husband out of my own stubbornness. Because she didn't agree, but I was ready to move along with my life.
That's interesting. So at the end of the day, she did give her consent to the marriage.
Well, she reluctantly did because she found out that my mind was made up. But the problem now became very obvious when I was told in the SDA church in Zaria that I was going to undergo baptism. I told them that I've already been baptized in the Catholic Church. They said no, that the SDA does not accept infant baptism. As at then, there was a black American pastor. He was staying in our house in Zaria because my husband was the first elder. So he started teaching me the Bible. His name is Pastor J.D. Johnson. He's a black American. He started teaching me. It wasn't easy for me, but the Holy Spirit helped me to comprehend what he was teaching.
And so you now saw the need for baptism.
Yes.
And you decided you were going to be baptized.
Yes, and actually, and honestly too, what Pastor was teaching me, I just saw the baptism as a prerequisite for the wedding, because the wedding was to take place in 1 week coming. So
after your baptism?
After the baptism, yes. So, but I begged them that, please, if you people baptize me, will you change my name, that I will want to retain my name? They said I can retain my name. Okay. So I accepted to be baptized. And it was Pastor J.D. Johnson and Pastor Musa from Jos that baptized me.
Interesting story it is, and we'll come back to talk some more on how Professor Clara's conversion experience transpired from after her baptism. We're back in a short while. Damascus Encounter is the program, and on the show today we have in the house Professor Clara Okoro, who is the university librarian for Babcock University, sharing her experience on how she became, from a Catholic background, a Seventh-day Adventist. Professor Clara, welcome back on the program.
Thank you.
So you now became baptized into the church and you got married to your husband, who was very instrumental to your becoming Seventh-day Adventist. Would you want to share a little bit of your experience now, getting married, now becoming a Seventh-day Adventist? Some of the differences, were there some areas of differences between your former faith and where you came into?
Actually, there is a whole lot of difference. Like I mentioned earlier, it was not easy because, you know, Adventism and Catholicism are kind of opposite in everything. And having been in the Catholic Church for about 20-something years and getting married, it was not easy for me. The way of life, the dressing, the eating. In short, I realized that Adventism is a way of life. And it wasn't easy.
Did you feel choked? The rules
I did, because I started unlearning a lot of things we were used to in Catholic. You know, the food, there are certain things you don't have to eat. Even if you have to eat the fish, you have to look for a particular fish
specifics
that has scales and things like that. We don't have to drink alcoholic beverages. And but with the Holy Spirit, I adapted very fast. And I must give credit to my husband, Professor Okoro. He bore with me patiently, because at times I misbehave going back to Egypt, but he will keep quiet and quietly correct me. And
what were some of those areas of that I misbehave, does it have to do with cooking, eating?
Yes.
That cause some friction.
Cooking, I go and get things I feel will make the soup to be sweet. That is not Adventist compliant.
Like
I get crayfish, shrimps and things like that.
Oh, okay.
And then I found it difficult to let go of my earrings. I will get small ones, the ankle chain and everything, cutex on my nails, fingers and everything. But after some time, with the reading of E.G. White books, I felt those things are nothing. And I shed all of them off. And I realized that when I did that, I felt calm, peace.
Kind of peace.
Yes, I felt it, inward peace. And with him teaching me how to pray, I will kneel down and talk to God as if I'm seeing him.
He taught you how to
pray?
He
taught me how to pray, taught me how to read the Bible. I said, because in the Catholic, we had this book we call a simple prayer book. All prayers are written in that book. Prayer when you want to go to bed, prayer when you wake up, prayer when you want to travel. So in whatever circumstance, you just speak and recite. But when I got married, he now taught me how to pray, talk to God according to how it is paining you, according to how you feel. And I started practicing that at age 20-something. It wasn't funny. But you know, I saw God answering my prayers. I was shocked, I was happy, and it so much endeared me to him till tomorrow. I don't joke with him. He brought me out of darkness, pitch darkness, into light. And I thank God for being an Adventist.
Thank God for being an Adventist. Very interesting. So I'm interested some more in your husband being that patient person and who could understand for you every step of the way, even when you did things that was not Adventist compliant. Yes. Did you get to any point where you felt, maybe I shouldn't have married him, this is just too much?
Yes, to be frank with you, at one time I felt bad. I said, this religion is caging me so much. But he bore with me. He didn't utter anything to make me sad. Then I will come back to myself again. In fact, when Pastor J.D. Johnson, he came on evangelism to Zaria, he was in our house. So in the evenings, he was taking me through the Bible. And at one time, he was teaching me, and he said, the Pope is a beast. I said, our Pope? Beast? That offended me. And I called my husband, I said, today, this pastor must leave this house. How dare him come to our house to call the Pope a beast? My husband told me to calm down. So in the evening, I didn't come for him to teach me anything. He now came to my room. I said, Clara, what's wrong? I said, you call the Pope a beast? He started laughing. But I read it myself. And I knew that Pastor Johnson was making no mistake. And I asked him to forgive me. And he forgave me and baptized me.
And that was you understanding Revelation 13. Exactly. That is the Pope being the beast as the beast in the book of Revelation.
Yes.
Not beast as an animal.
No. But then I didn't understand it so. Yeah. But when I now read, of course I was a graduate before I married, I read the truth. And the Holy Spirit helped me to understand. I felt bad that I embarrassed a man of God. I went to beg him. He understood and he forgave me and baptized me.
Very interesting. So when you compare the faith you used to hold, that is the Catholic faith, to the Adventist faith that you came into, you know, in the African setting where we get married and then it's like practically you are married to some of your relatives. That is, they have some say, some input. Those areas of differences, because we know in the Adventist church, people say, oh, he went and married a non-Adventist and stuff like that. So did you have that friction and how did you deal with it?
Incidentally, my husband's family, they are all Adventists.
Exactly.
So I didn't have any problem. And they helped their brother to nurture me. But rather, where I was having problem is from my own family. Each time my first child, a girl, my mother now came to take care and to help me to take care. He brought needle. she will use to pierce the girl's ear. And I told her no. He said, what's wrong with that? Small. She brought the needle and the earring and the thread. I said, you're not going to pierce this girl's ear. She got angry. But I told her, the girl, yeah, it's your granddaughter, but it belongs more to the family of my husband. So she cooled down, but she didn't like it. And I enjoyed everything because I had peace of mind, honestly. And I saw my prayers being answered. Being answered. When I commit something that is not too good, I kneel down, I pray to God, and I feel some calm inside me that God has forgiven me and my prayer has been answered. Unlike when we go for confession, to confess to the priest, the next day you go back to commit the same thing. There was a world of difference.
A world of difference.
There was a world of difference.
Now you had that communion or relationship with God himself, and you had to actually relate with God. Yes. That's very interesting, a very interesting story, and I want to believe that if you were to talk to young Adventist youths who are about to get married, because sometimes these days people say, I can't find anybody to marry in the church, so I need to go and maybe I have a friend from outside I want to get married, and then there's also the inside messages of don't get married outside of the church. What would you say to people who find themselves in those shoes?
Exactly. In fact, when we were in Zaria, and also when we moved to Port Harcourt, I was in the communication. I was the communication director. And most times the singles will always call me to talk to them. And they feel that they come to church, they are in the choir, and the young boys are in the choir. Rather, they go out to get girls, say it's a means of evangelism. And they are in the choir getting old, and nobody is talking to them. And that if somebody comes from outside, that they will. I got worried myself because my husband went outside and got his own.
Yeah.
So, but I told them that just keep calm because you are in the right place. And if you pray hard without messing around, without looking back, the Lord whom we worship will answer you and lead you to the right man. But then most of them went and married some, became second wives to Anglicans, Catholics, and all kinds of people. That marriage did not last. But those that had patience, God brought their own bone of the bone and flesh of the flesh. And they are happy today. And I tell people, Adventism is the best in marriage. I am a living example. And I've also taught my children. I have only 4. One of them married a pastor. Of course, a non-Adventist will not come to my house. So they all married Adventists.
So at the end of the day, patience is the name and the answer to
yes.
wanting to marry. Just wait on the Lord and he will
exactly,
find you.
Because there is no way if you pray hard and believe in the Lord, he will lead you to a non-Adventist man or whatever. No, it's not the Lord that I worship. So patience is very important. It's just that the young ones are in a mad rush.
Yeah, you get to that age and stage you want to get married and you just need it now
or never. Now. And 8 out of 10 of such marriages oftentimes end in disaster.
So let's talk as we wind up on the program today. You have been married for how many years
I've
now?
been married for 38 solid years.
38
and
solid
still
years.
Counting.
Amen. And that means 38 years of Adventism.
38 years of Adventism so and peace of mind.
And peace of mind. Looking back, as you review the whole thing, would you trade places or do you have any regrets coming into the Seventh-day Adventist Church?
Regrets? In fact, I tell some of my friends that even if everybody on earth backslides, by God forbid, I, Clara, will never. Because I've tasted both sides. Oh yeah, I've tasted it and I've made my choice that will not be taken from me, even if the heavens are falling.
That is interesting. And your husband, who played a very pivotal role in all of this, is so central to bringing you to Jesus, in quote, that is you becoming Seventh-day Adventist.
Yes,
and he's still doing very well in the church.
Exactly. I tell people that the best thing that happened to me was the man I married. If I had remained in Catholicism, in fact, I would have died, because we were moving at a very fast rate, everything good and bad mixed together. But I thank God for my husband. Well, as a surgeon by training, I think calmness is one of the things they learn in the medical school. He now brought it into marriage.
Brought it into marriage.
Yes, and we are enjoying a very sweet family cohesion.
That's interesting.
Very sweet one.
And I wish you a very sweet, many more years of sweet family cohesion. I wish you many more years of peace and joy in your Adventist journey as we travel on waiting for the coming of Jesus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming on the program. And that will be it on today's edition of the program Damascus Encounter. We've had Professor Clara Okoro in the house, University Librarian for Babcock University, sharing her experience and letting us into her world as a Catholic and now becoming a Seventh-day Adventist. Until next time when we come your way with a fresh edition of the program, I want to thank you for being a part of the show today and say God bless you.